At 5:17 local time in the Strait of Hormuz, the first warning is not a voice over the radio. It is movement. On the bridge of the U.S. destroyer, a surface contact that had been drifting slowly suddenly swings hard and accelerates. Then another does the same, then a third. 3 fast-moving tracks, all coming from the north, all tightening toward the narrow shipping lane as if they had been waiting for the exact same moment. Inside the Combat Information Center, the radar picture becomes sharper. 3 surface contacts, bearing 031. Speed increasing, the destroyer is already deep inside one of the most confined waterways on Earth, making a lawful transit through the Strait of Hormuz, with merchant traffic spaced ahead and behind. To starboard, the water is open but exposed. To port, the coastline sits low and brown beneath the early morning haze. There is no extra room here, no wasted distance, no time to make the wrong call. At first, the 3 contacts look small. Then their speed rises again, 28 knots. That changes the mood instantly. On the bridge, no one panics, no one raises their voice. The captain steps closer to the tactical repeater, studies the closing angle for 1 second, and gives the order in the same calm tone he might use to correct a course line. Hail them once. Record everything. Maintain course. The radio operator transmits bridge to bridge. Unidentified vessels, this is a United States warship in international transit. You are closing at an unsafe speed. Alter course immediately. No response. Below, in the Combat Information Center, the atmosphere shifts without anyone needing to say it out loud. This is no longer routine tracking. This is active risk management. Track numbers are assigned. Bearings are updated every few seconds. Estimated closest point of approach begins shrinking quickly. Closest point of approach under 4 nautical miles. The electronic warfare team starts logging emissions. At first, it is only background noise from the coast, commercial traffic, and harbor activity. Then one shoreline radar sweep crosses the destroyer again, cleaner this time, more deliberate. Not a firm lock, not yet, but not casual anymore. On the starboard bridge wing, a lookout raises his binoculars. Visual contact. 3 fast craft. Low profile. Armed personnel visible topside. That is the first human confirmation. The rising sun catches white spray breaking off the bows of the approaching boats. They are not fishing vessels. They are not lost civilians. Their hulls are narrow, aggressive, and built for speed, with dark shapes mounted forward and amidships that resemble heavy crew-served systems or launcher rails. Even at distance, their posture says the same thing their speed already has. They are not here to simply pass by. The officer of the deck orders the forward camera to zoom in. The feed appears on a repeater screen. 3 Iranian fast attack craft, weaving just enough to stay unpredictable, but not enough to hide their direction. Straight toward the destroyer. The call goes back into the Combat Information Center. Confirmed. Iranian fast craft. Multiple armed personnel visible. Forward, the 5-inch system rotates a few degrees off the center line. Not enough to escalate, just enough to be noticed. On another deck, the close-in defensive system moves into standby. Its white dome remains still for now. Waiting. The missile crews do not rush. They do not need to. On a ship like this, readiness is not improvised. It is built into the steel. Another radio call goes out. This one is firmer. Iranian vessels, you are approaching a United States Navy ship at an unsafe distance. Alter course now. Still nothing. The destroyer holds her line through the channel, her wake straight and controlled behind her. And that matters. Every sailor on board understands why. In a place like Hormuz, the first ship to overreact often loses the story, even if it survives the encounter. Then one of the Iranian boats breaks formation. It surges ahead of the other 2 and cuts down toward the destroyer's starboard bow. Fast, far too fast for a routine shadow. Its wake sharpens into a bright white blade across the water. On the bridge, heads turn toward the windows. On the video feed, one man near the bow mount braces himself with one hand while keeping the other close to the mounted system. Closest point of approach now, 2.6. That number seems to hang in the air. Another coastal emission flashes across the electronic warfare board. Narrower now, more focused. The electronic warfare officer leans over his console, listening to the signal through his headset as if it might reveal the next move. We're being painted from shore. Search mode may be tightening. He does not say anything more. He does not have to. Up on the bridge, the captain watches the lead Iranian boat close the distance. The second and third boats begin to spread wider, one holding farther out, the other sliding aft as if trying to build better angles. This is not random movement. It is not just posturing. It is coordination. That is when the captain gives the next order. Set condition 3. Man key stations. Across the ship, steel doors swing open. Boots hit the ladder wells. Sailors move quickly but without panic. Training takes over where adrenaline begins. Helm stays steady. Engines respond cleanly. The destroyer does not turn away. Outside, the lead Iranian craft keeps coming. The distance falls again. the shoreline radar sweeps with more intent. And in the first pale light over Hormuz, with 3 armed boats closing in and the coast beginning to stir behind them, the morning stops feeling like a transit and starts feeling like a setup. At 5:21 local time, in the Strait of Hormuz, the lead Iranian fast craft still does not slow down. It cuts straight across the destroyer's starboard bow at such close range that every man on the bridge can make out the hull number through the spray. Its wake explodes outward in a white burst, rolling hard beneath the destroyer's forward shoulder. Coffee rattles in a console cup holder. A lookout grabs the rail. No one says what everyone is already thinking. That was deliberate. Closest point of approach, 1.2 nautical miles, CIC reports. Then the second Iranian boat swings wider to starboard, dropping back just enough to create space. The third slides aft, matching the destroyer's speed from a lower angle, hanging off the quarter like it is searching for a blind spot that does not exist. In less than 30 seconds, the geometry changes from an aggressive approach into something tighter. A partial bracket. On the bridge, the captain watches the pattern settle. They're building angles, the tactical action officer says over the circuit. No answer comes back right away. The captain is looking through the forward glass, tracking the lead craft as it pounds over the chop. Then his attention shifts to the repeater, where the 3 wakes now form a loose hook around the American ship's starboard side. Below in CIC, the picture grows more crowded by the second. Surface tracks, shoreline emissions, merchant traffic farther south. There is no room for confusion. Every movement has to be separated, labeled, and understood. The destroyer's SPY radar holds the surface picture steady, while the electro-optical feed zooms tighter on the nearest Iranian hull. Crew topside, helmets, dark vests, a shielded forward-mounted system, tubes mounted aft. Rocket rails, maybe, maybe not. At this range, maybe is more than enough. The bridge-to-bridge radio crackles again. Iranian fast craft, this is a United States warship. Your maneuvers are unsafe. Alter course immediately. Still, there is no response. Then, for the first time, a voice answers from the water. Male. Flat. Farsi-accented English. U.S. warship, you are approaching an Iranian security zone. Change course south immediately. The reply is sharp, but the words are not the most important part. The timing is. As the transmission ends, the lead boat cuts in even closer, almost as if the radio call had only been meant to buy 3 more seconds of approach. On the destroyer's starboard wing, a lookout speaks without lowering his binoculars. Crewman on the lead craft is standing by the forward mount. For half a beat, the air seems to stop moving. Inside the Combat Information Center, the electronic warfare officer looks up from his console. Shore radar sweep is tightening. Still not dedicated tracking. Still not clean. The captain gives one short nod. Launch the helo. Out on the flight deck, the order lands like a switch being thrown inside the steel of the ship. The MH-60R Seahawk has already been sitting alert. Blades folded, crew nearby. Now the tie-down chains come off quickly. Deck crew move in low, controlled sprints. Rotor blades spread. The turbine whine rises from a low hum into a hard metallic howl that cuts through the morning air. On the bridge, no one turns to look aft. They know what is happening by sound alone. The lead Iranian craft surges again. Closer now. Spray flies high from its bow, flashing in the sunlight like shattered glass. Range, 1,800 yards. The destroyer's 5-inch system is locked. Not positioned to engage, just visible, just unmistakable. The close-in defensive mount comes fully alive, shifting with a slow mechanical awareness that says the ship is no longer treating this as routine. Then the Seahawk lifts. Rotor wash tears across the deck and spills out over the water. Within seconds, the helicopter noses low, slides off the port side, then banks hard across the destroyer's bow, crossing left to right directly into the Iranian boat's line of sight. Its gray body flashes through the dawn haze, low over the sea, closing fast with the confidence of something built to control small boat encounters. Inside the helicopter, the sensor operator brings the MX-20 onto the lead craft. The cockpit crew stays quiet. The pilot keeps the aircraft low, firm, and controlled. This is not a flyby for show. It is a deliberate move into the space the Iranian boats have been trying to dominate. Back on the bridge, the tactical picture changes again. Air asset on station. The Seahawk slides out ahead of the nearest Iranian boat and holds there, slightly offset, forcing every man on that craft to look up. A green laser warning flickers across the lead boat's bridge windows. Non-lethal, impossible to miss. The loud hailer message comes a second later. Iranian vessel, alter course now. You are operating unsafely near a United States warship. The message is repeated in English, then repeated again in a clipped operational Persian phrase from the aircrew script. The lead boat wobbles slightly as it hits the helicopter's rotor wash. For the first time all morning, its bow drifts a few degrees away from the destroyer's line. Not much, but enough. Yet while every eye on the bridge stays fixed on the boats, the real change is happening inside the Combat Information Center. The electronic warfare officer stiffens in his chair. New emission, same coastal sector. He listens, watches, checks it again. Then he says it slowly, making every word clear. The lead craft is radiating now. Short-range surface search. Wait, no. Tracking behavior. A pause. He's painting the helo. For 1 second, nobody speaks. That is the mistake. Pressure is one thing. Unsafe maneuvering is another. But actively tracking a U.S. Navy helicopter at close range during a live standoff is different. That moves the moment from theater into something far more serious. On the bridge, the captain does not raise his voice. Arm-layered defense. Request authority for a formal warning measure. Keep the helicopter on him. The Seahawk banks tighter. Camera locked, laser steady. Every second time-stamped and recorded. Below, the ship's heavy systems remain silent. The deck mounts remain silent. The ship still holds course. But the Strait of Hormuz feels smaller now, because this is no longer just 3 Iranian boats trying to unsettle a destroyer. Now one of them is beginning to track back. At 5:24 local time in the Strait of Hormuz, the destroyer is no longer looking at 3 boats. It is looking at a system. Inside the Combat Information Center, the surface tracks remain tight on the display, but the larger picture is finally coming into focus. 3 Iranian fast craft off the starboard side. One larger contact farther north, outside the immediate push line, holding a measured speed that makes little sense unless it is there to observe, relay, or direct. And behind all of it, along the coast, the same radar sector keeps pulsing with disciplined regularity. No longer random, no longer background noise. This is not freelance pressure. This is coordinated. The Seahawk stays low over the water, offset from the lead Iranian craft, nose slightly down, camera fixed. Every few seconds, the helicopter rocks in the rough air coming off the chop and the boat's own wake. Inside the cockpit, the pilot keeps his hands steady. The sensor operator does not look away from the screen. The laser warning remains non-lethal, visible and firm, a bright green reminder across the Iranian bridge glass that every movement is now being recorded. Below, the lead craft keeps its bow up, but it no longer charges as hard. Its wake shortens. The second boat widens again, less certain now, while the third continues to hang aft, still trying to preserve an angle. Then the first American aircraft check in. The call comes through the circuit clean and clipped, almost too calm for the moment. Fast Eagle on station. On the destroyer's bridge, nobody cheers. Nobody even looks up. But the effect is immediate. In the combat system, 2 friendly air tracks appear from the south, moving fast, descending into the area with enough speed to make one thing clear. They did not arrive for show. Whether they came from a carrier deck farther out or from a planned patrol already near the lane does not matter to the sailors on the ship. What matters is that they are here now, and now the balance changes. The tactical action officer updates the captain. 2 aircraft overhead in less than 1 minute. Helo remains visual. Surface contact still active. Coastal emitters still tracking intermittently. The captain gives the order without hesitation. Bring close in defense to active track. Keep long-range systems cold. No one engages unless we have a clear direct threat or confirmed outbound action. That line matters. The ship is stepping deeper into defense, but it is still not the ship making the first move. In the Combat Information Center, the weapons team acknowledges. The close-in defensive system shifts from readiness into focus. Servo motors hum, tracking logic tightens. The 5-inch system remains trained to starboard, silent but fully committed now. Electronic warfare begins feeding countermeasure options into the tactical loop. Nothing is released, nothing is pushed aggressively yet. But the destroyer is no longer only observing the encounter, it is shaping it. Outside, the first aircraft flashes overhead. Not low enough to provoke, low enough to be understood. A dark shape cuts across the pale morning sky and banks wide over the strait, then turns back in a clean arc that places American air power directly above the cluster of Iranian boats. A second follows, offset, holding enough separation to cover the entire box. From the deck of the lead Iranian craft, the message is simple. You are no longer crowding one destroyer. You are standing under a layered response. The Seahawk crew sees the change before the bridge does. The second Iranian boat begins to drift away, first by only a few degrees, then a little more. Its crew starts looking up instead of forward. One man near the forward mount lifts an arm, either pointing toward the aircraft or signaling back to the bridge. The third boat slows by half a knot, then a little more. Small changes, but in close water standoffs, tiny movements can say everything. Only the lead craft keeps pressing, not as hard as before, but still enough. Back inside the Combat Information Center, another voice cuts in. New air picture negative. No Iranian aircraft airborne. Larger surface contact remains north. Coastal radar still active. Recommend maintaining pressure. The destroyer's captain studies the plot for half a second longer than before. He is not just watching the boat anymore. He is watching the chain behind it. The lead craft, the outer craft, the larger vessel, the radar ashore, the timing of the radio calls, the way the tracking behavior appeared only after the helicopter entered the box. That is the picture now, layer against layer. And then the shoreline changes the equation again. The electronic warfare officer turns in his seat, one hand still on the console. Emission spike, same coastal sector, narrower beam, could be queuing, could be preparing a higher quality track. No one needs that translated. The bridge gets quieter, not louder. That is how real danger sounds on a warship. Fewer wasted words. Less movement, more attention. The aircraft come around for another pass. Not diving, not threatening, just taking control of the airspace above the encounter. The Seahawk widens its orbit slightly to preserve space, but stays locked on the lead craft. The destroyer holds course through Hormuz. Wake straight, bow steady, showing every camera, every radar, and every watchstander on both sides the same thing. The U.S. ship is not turning away. On the Iranian side, the first signs of uncertainty are spreading, but the situation is not easing. Not yet. Because now the coast is involved in a way it was not 3 minutes earlier. Now the boats are no longer alone. Now the radar ashore is acting like part of the pressure. And in the Strait of Hormuz, once the coastline joins the standoff, every second after that becomes more dangerous than the one before. At 5:27 local time in the Strait of Hormuz, the line almost breaks on the water. It happens so fast that nobody on the bridge is fully sure what they saw at first. The lead Iranian fast craft surges up along the destroyer's starboard side, its bow slamming through its own wake. Then something flashes near the forward mount. A sharp burst, a streak low over the water. A second later, white spray erupts off the destroyer's starboard beam, close enough to throw mist across the lower bridge windows. Not a direct impact, not an event anyone is willing to dismiss. Inside the Combat Information Center, 3 voices speak at once. Splash starboard side. Possible warning discharge. No confirmed larger launch. The captain does not ask which one it is. At this distance, with the coastline active and equipped boats crowding the ship, the difference between a warning move and a serious mistake is no longer useful. Either way, the situation has crossed the line. Shift to full defensive posture, he says. Weapons tight. Hold for authority. The destroyer answers instantly. The close-in defensive system rotates hard to starboard and locks into active tracking. The 5-inch system finishes its traverse and settles directly onto the lead boat's sector. Below, response crews stand ready, one order away from turning the entire geometry of the morning into something no one can take back. On the bridge, the officer of the deck keeps the ship steady, even now, especially now. Because if the destroyer turns hard inside the channel, merchant traffic behind her compresses, angles collapse, and the whole transit becomes chaos. Outside, the Seahawk breaks its low orbit immediately. The pilot pulls the helicopter wider and higher, moving it out of the close-range threat envelope while keeping the lead Iranian craft in sight. In the cabin, the sensor operator zooms in on the boat's forward deck, searching for smoke, a flash, or anything that can confirm exactly what just came from that position. Negative confirmed guided launch, he calls. Possible unguided round or warning discharge. Multiple personnel still topside. The aircraft overhead respond next. Fast Eagle copies dangerous splash, pushing lower. One of the jets drops altitude in a smooth, controlled descent. Not to strike, but to take command of the airspace so completely that every eye on every Iranian deck is pulled upward. The second jet remains higher and offset, covering the entire box. No release authorized, no dramatic call over open comms. Just speed, position, presence, and a message that cannot be misunderstood. On the water, the formation finally begins to crack. The second Iranian boat, the one that had widened earlier, breaks first. Its bow drifts offline, its wake flattening as the pilot bleeds speed. The third boat hesitates aft, caught between holding the bracket and leaving before the Americans decide the splash was enough. Only the lead craft remains dangerously committed, still close, still aggressive in its motion, but no longer in control of the scene it started. Then the shoreline enters the circuit again. The electronic warfare officer's voice is sharper now. Coastal emitter is stronger. Short burst, possible queuing radar, still no confirmed launch. The words land heavily inside the Combat Information Center. The destroyer is now dealing with two layers at once: the armed fast craft within visual range, and a coastal system that may be feeding targeting information from farther inland. That is how close water pressure becomes something much more serious. Not with one clean signal, but with stacked uncertainty. Water, radar, timing, bad decisions. The captain makes his next move. Request broader defensive authority if coastal tracking continues. Formal warning measures remain on the table. Keep every sensor recording. No one misunderstands what that means. This moment is now measured in seconds. Seconds from a mistake or seconds from a response. On the lead Iranian boat, the effect is finally visible. Through the destroyer's optics, a crewman near the forward mount ducks low. Another man turns back toward the bridge and gestures sharply with both arms. The boat's nose swings left, then snaps back. For one dangerous moment, it looks like the pilot cannot decide whether to keep pushing or break away. The Seahawk circles wider, camera still fixed. The lower jet cuts across the top of the encounter area fast enough to shake spray from the wave tops. It does not release anything. It does not need to. The pass moves across the morning like a blade being drawn, and suddenly the lead Iranian craft loses its nerve. Its bow swings hard to starboard. The wake, which had been driving straight and narrow toward the destroyer, bends into a white crescent away from the ship. The third boat follows almost immediately, turning out and aft. The second, already drifting away, commits fully and opens the distance. The bracket is gone. But the danger is not. The coastal radar still pulses from shore. The larger Iranian contact north of the scene remains in place, watching, holding, maybe relaying, maybe waiting to see whether the Americans will respond against withdrawing boats and hand Tehran the image it came for. They do not. The destroyer holds her line. That is the discipline of it. Main systems trained, layered defenses ready. Aircraft overhead, helicopter offset. Crew prepared to answer if the moment demands it. And still, the ship refuses to be the first one to lose control. On the bridge, nobody relaxes yet. Not after the splash. Not while the coast is still active behind the boats. The captain watches the lead craft widen the gap and says only one sentence. They pushed it to the edge. He does not finish the thought. He does not have to. Everyone on the bridge, inside the Combat Information Center, in the Seahawk, and overhead in the aircraft already knows what was waiting on the other side of that edge. And for one long second over the Strait of Hormuz, Iran saw it too. At 5:34 local time, in the Strait of Hormuz, the Iranian boats are finally opening the distance. Not quickly at first, not in a clean, obvious retreat. The lead craft, the same one that had cut hardest and come closest, keeps its bow angled just enough to save face. The second boat has already widened into safer water. The third, which had lingered aft trying to preserve the bracket, finally gives up the angle and slides away from the destroyer's quarter. On the surface, it looks controlled, professional even. But the geometry says something else. The trap is gone. Inside the Combat Information Center, the surface picture begins to stretch back out by degrees. Closest point of approach starts climbing instead of collapsing. 1.8, 2.4, 3.1. Small numbers on a screen, but on a morning like this, they feel like air returning to the room. No one says that either. The captain remains on the bridge, eyes forward. One glance at the repeater, one glance through the glass, then back to the horizon, where the strait narrows into heat and haze. The destroyer has not changed course. It has not reduced speed. It has not surrendered a single yard of water. That matters. Above the ship, the aircraft remain in their orbit, one high, one lower, both holding the box with quiet authority. The Seahawk stays offset and wide now, no longer crowding the lead boat, but still watching, still filming, still close enough to remind every sailor on those Iranian hulls that nothing from this morning belongs only to memory. Everything is on record. Surface contacts, increasing separation, the Combat Information Center reports. The Tactical Action Officer answers without emotion. Continue track. The electronic warfare officer is still listening to the coast. The shoreline emitter that had sharpened and pulsed throughout the standoff begins to fade in intensity. Not all at once. A sweep, a pause, another weaker sweep, then longer gaps between them. We're seeing reduced power from the coastal sector, he says. Still active, less aggressive. Again, nobody reads too much into it. In Hormuz, a radar quieting down does not mean peace. It only means one phase is ending. On the flight deck, deck crews remain ready. No one is standing down yet. Tie-down teams wait near their stations. Response crews remain closed up. The smell of fuel and hot metal hangs in the air beneath the steady rhythm of the destroyer moving through the channel. Farther below, response crews remain at posture. The 5-inch system stays trained off starboard. The close-in defensive system remains live and aware, tracking without engaging, like an animal still awake after the danger has begun to step backward. That is how a real warship settles after the edge, not by relaxing, by refusing to assume the moment is over just because it is moving away. The lead Iranian craft turns another few degrees. Now the withdrawal is unmistakable. Through the optics feed, the crewmen who had stood near the forward mount are no longer squared toward the destroyer. One is seated, another has turned aft, speaking into a handset or radio. The movement is smaller now, less swagger, less intent. The second and third boats have already drifted far enough apart that no one could mistake them for a coordinated pressure pattern anymore. Whatever the plan was, it is finished. But the Americans have seen enough. That may be the most important part of the morning. Iran did not harm the ship. It did not force the destroyer out of the lane. It did not compel an American turn. It did not draw a reckless response. Instead, in less than 20 minutes, they revealed their timing, their small boat coordination, their communication rhythm, their shoreline radar behavior, and the exact point where pressure turned into direct tracking. Every burst, every sweep, every dangerous move. All of it has been logged, time-stamped, cross-referenced, and stored. That is the kind of mistake that lasts longer than spray on the water. The captain finally gives the order to ease one layer of posture. Maintain track, step down incrementally, keep air overhead. It is not a dramatic command. It is not meant to be. On a ship like this, survival is not celebrated. It is expected. Discipline is the point. Inside the Combat Information Center, call-outs continue at a lower rhythm now, but they do not stop. The larger Iranian contact that had lingered north of the scene remains on the scope, farther out, still watching. The aircraft overhead continue their measured turns. The Seahawk begins working back toward the destroyer, not because the situation is forgotten, but because the message has been delivered and the evidence has been collected. Back on the bridge, the morning light is fully up now. Merchant ships still move through the strait. The destroyer still pushes forward. Same heading, same transit, same mission. That may be the clearest answer of all. No press statement, no speech, no dramatic flourish. Iran pressed. The U.S. responded immediately, not with panic, not with noise, but with layers, control, and enough visible presence to end the encounter without losing command of it. The boats keep falling away behind the starboard quarter. The coastal radar fades back into the background. The Strait of Hormuz opens just a little in front of the bow, but no one on board mistakes calm for safety. Places like this do not forgive bad decisions for long. One flash from a forward mount, one burst of spray beside the hull, one radar sweep from the coast that tightens a little too much. That is all it takes. And this morning, Iran came right up to that line, looked over it, and stepped back just in time. The destroyer never did.